The Kansas City Chiefs traded Trent McDuffie away, and I'm here with that breaking news, and I break down my thoughts and opinion on that trade and what that could possibly mean for the rest of this offseason going into the draft. All that and more on Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
Welcome to this solo edition of Gridiron Gambit. I am your host, Clinton Petrie, here for however long I choose to be live for. But I'm here to give you the lowdown of the breaking news that came out of Arrowhead this morning, that Trent McDuffie, after all the talks of will he or won't he be traded to the Los Angeles Rams, the GM spouting about how he'd really like a quarterback and maybe is willing to give up a pick at the end of the first round to do so. Well, the Chiefs have the perfect candidate to make that marriage work. And so this Wednesday morning, they chose to trade Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams for the 29th overall pick, a 5th and 6th rounder, both within the year of 2026, and a future next year's 3rd round pick, all for Trent McDuffie. I think the positives about this trade are the fact that the Chiefs get several draft choices to play with. They get two mid to late round picks for this year's draft. And they really evidently wanted a day 2 pick in the future. And so a 3rd round pick will get that done. Honestly, I would have preferred if that pick in the first round was the Falcons selection at pick 13, but perhaps the Rams were not willing to give that up, or Brett Beach was willing to compromise and take the 29th overall pick instead and asked for that future draft capital and also the more mid-round picks to play with for this year's draft. If you just look at the trade in a vacuum, you would say, hey, this is great because Trent McDuffie is one of the picks that Chiefs got when they traded Tyreek Hill away. And so to be able to get all these years of Trent McDuffie, who gives you solid all-pro level play in the cornerback position, win you 2 Super Bowls within that time frame, to be able to go around and trade him for another first-round pick and future assets. You have to enjoy that part of it. I think part of what I am stuck on is what does that leave for your secondary now going into to next season? I've heard that it means the Chiefs really like Noel Williams. That's cool, but he seems to be a boundary corner, and the Chiefs just traded an all-pro nickel away. So they're going to have to find a solution there. I don't really want the Jamari Connor experiment to continue in that spot last year when they were kind of throwing McDuffie out of his natural position. And the fact that you were hoping for some blue chip defensive players to kind of make their home on this team and be able to carry in the younger guys. And from what we heard from the other defensive backs that worked with Trent McDuffie, he was kind of that veteran without being there long term, without being in the NFL for a long time. He had that maturity to him that would give him that kind of seniority aspect to him. But now the Chiefs, this was the same type of situation that made us nervous when we traded L'Jarius Sneed away, when they let Charvarius Ward walk. That same feeling of the Chiefs just do not pay a quarterback. They're not going to pay a quarterback. as long as there's Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt on this team, we're going to draft cornerbacks and we're going to redo and replace, and we're going to go younger and cheaper over and over again. I think most fans would have liked to see a McDuffie extension last year before the numbers kind of got inflated and before what we saw in terms of his play kind of dropping a little bit based on the responsibilities that he was asked to do. I think him going to the Rams is a perfect situation for him because the defense there will use him exactly as they should. And they're not afraid to overpay and back up the Brinks truck. And from the reports I heard, the Rams are willing to give McDuffie that $30 million and even more than that a year average that I don't think Chiefs Kingdom was very willing to give to McDuffie at this time. I think if things had worked out better over the last couple seasons, that might have been a choice they were willing to make in terms of bringing him back and willing to pay him the money that both sides think he is deserved or earned by this point. But ultimately, the Chiefs' previous draft strategy of trade away a player coming at the end of his contract for extra draft capital or to cut salary or whatever the case may be. So still kind of processing it. I know I'm not quick on the reaction train. I know everybody else has already kind of given their opinions on it. So if you're watching this, thank you for coming to hear what I got to say about it. But I think it now adds some question marks in terms of how much continuity would you like to have within that defensive back room. Is Jalen Watson a potential guy that the Chiefs want to bring back if they traded Trent McDuffie away? Are they trying to throw the bag at Brian Cook, who, for all intents and purposes, looked like he's set to make $15 million a year for whatever team is willing to sign him? And then you have your 9th overall pick, where most, including myself, are thinking you're going defensive line or a playmaker on offense. Does that now signal, hey, we're going to go secondary here, and if the number one safety is in that spot, we'll take him instead? I'm not sure. I think in a counterintuitive way, it gives the Chiefs more flexibility in terms of how they want to roster construct, but it also adds a new question mark that previously was, a check mark. All good, don't have to think about it here. So overall, where I land on the McDuffie trade is I'm happy for Trent McDuffie in general. I know he is a Los Angeles guy. I know a lot of Rams players were kind of excited about him even before this year coming in, just because he's from the area. And you've heard it a bunch of times that the coaches in the Rams locker room have connections to Trent McDuffie directly. So, that's a no-brainer pairing there. They know what they're getting and they're willing to pay the price for it. So same type of feeling we had when Tyreek Hill was gone. Those that were really upset by that and the loss of a great player playing for this team wearing the particular uniform, but then watching how the draft unfolded and how the roster was constructed after that, there was a lot more ease and confidence going into the year. Considering the down year the Chiefs had, and that, our standards have been rocked a little bit in terms of what we expect this team to accomplish versus what's real. And instead, it leaves those question marks, but I think people are they're excited to see what Brett Veach is going to do, because he had some flames put under him based on some of his contract choices. based on some of his draft selections and then the team's choices to extend those players at a contract that maybe other teams would not consider for that price. But it is now fully Brett Veach's team, other than Andy Reid constructing it. But these are Brett Veach choice decisions, and the draft choices we get within the 2026 draft will indicate that those are Brett Veach type players. I like that, the Chiefs have that end of first round pick to work with, to where if Bailey is up there and he's going to get taken at 5, and you say, hey, we really like him over Bain and we really want this player, then the Chiefs would have an additional first rounder they could throw out there to move up those spots to get the player they really want. So that gives them that flexibility. And this team needed another haul of talent. And the big concern going into this free agency is whether we could extend or keep any of those free agents. And, I think they have some flexibility whether or not they want to bring anybody back, but I think it kind of just signals it's time to get younger and rebuild again, because as long as you got Patrick Mahomes, you think that you can create a young roster around him and he'll still be able to carry you. Just have to have some caution knowing that he got hurt and he won't quite be himself. And now we know what it's like when you try to put all the pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Eventually, he can't carry the entire load by himself, and nor would you ask him or want him to. But the fact that we had to say goodbye to Trent McDuffie is a little bittersweet. A couple years ago, we would have said this is the first corner that Brett Veach is going to pay, and we're willing to keep him. And a couple years later, a down type season and a year where Brett Veach wants to go younger, cheaper, and just kind of rehaul all within the draft again. Trent McDuffie was the on man out. Arguments can be made. It should have been him staying versus Karlaftis, him versus Nick Bolton, him versus Drew Tranquil, and all these other things and all these choices the Chiefs made that weren't extend McDuffie at that time. But now it kind of gives you that kind of freedom to kind of not know what's going next. And you didn't shed a lot of salary with this move, but you've taken a player out of pocket you were going to give money to prepare for this free agency class. And we talk we need a running back. We talk we need some defensive line. They maybe want to bring in a defensive back or a wide receiver that's a veteran again. But this gives Brett Veach some more options. I don't necessarily think the 29th overall pick is valid for what Trent McDuffie can give. But Brett Veach wanted additional assets, and he got 4 draft choices for Trent McDuffie, which is very close to when he traded Tyreek Hill, and he got 5. So it's clear that Veach wanted quantity instead of quality, and he'll let him and his staff figure out what it'll take to rebuild this roster and have the quote rebuilding year they had after 2022 when they made it to the Super Bowl and won it. So we know those are the standards, and the Chiefs want to keep that. And to do that, you have to make some tough decisions. And it seems like the Chiefs have ultimately done that. So, Trent McDuffie is no longer a Kansas City Chiefs. We will wish him well. Obviously not if we meet in the Super Bowl in their home stadium again this year, as the Super Bowl will be played in SoFi. But I know Chiefs Kingdom and myself wish McDuffie all the best. We know he's a great player, and when he's used effectively in the spots that he should be and supposed to be used, he can be a dominant all-pro player. but this team doesn't like to pay corners, and that remains to be true. So let's just prepare for another overhaul in the secondary and just see what happens. Some of these years we have some expectations, but after last year and this feeling going into 2026, we really don't know what this team has, and maybe that's for the best. The element of surprise may do us some good. So before I end the show, let's go ahead and pay the bills.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like or comment so we can reply and interact with you and make you a part of the show. If you listen to us on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars so we can increase our reach in the playlist. Follow us and all our contributors on all the social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. If you'd like to come on and talk Chiefs, message us so we can potentially set that up. Do you enjoy written content? Subscribe to our Substack. We have both a free and a $5 a month subscription and post on there frequently. And if you have any interest in being a contributor on the writing staff, feel free to reach out and we'll be in touch. It would help support the brand if you would purchase our merch, like the shirt that I'm wearing currently. Set up an order for one of these or 2 or 3, and this will allow us to expand our inventory options. Thanks for being a part of this channel, and if there's any partner that's listening to this interested in sponsoring the show or any other content that we produce, please reach out. Now, back to the show.
Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in. If you saw this, leave your comment or whatever and give me your thoughts about what you think of the McDuffie trade. I'm kind of shell shocked that it happened now. I know the talk was kind of brewing over the few days, but to kind of drop it on us all of a sudden on this Wednesday was kind of bittersweet feeling. But the fact that we have that first round pick and we have some future draft capital to play with, and we're seeing some releasing and restructures of some other players going on, so the Chiefs know they got to take care of business and they're trying to do so in the ways that make sense to them. But over the next week or two, as we begin free agency, we'll see that perhaps a completely different looking team. So that's something that we got to prepare for. But us that have been in Chiefs Kingdom forever, we're loyal. We'll stick it out. We'll be with this team no matter what and how long their dynasty goes for. But let's hope that trading McDuffie at his height will lead to the type of success McDuffie had when the Chiefs decided to trade Tyreek Hill. So that is it for me for this edition of Gridiron Gambit. Very short, solo, but breaking news. Had to give it to you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow the platform. Subscribe on YouTube. Give a follow or a comment, repost, whatever it is, wherever you're finding this video or the social media post around it. I appreciate you for tuning in. Overall, just thanks for hanging with me and supporting us through this kind of down period. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. We will see if we hear any more news come out of One Arrowhead Drive. But if we don't, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, go.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom Media.